Hello and welcome to Politics War Room with James Carville, and I'm Al Hunt. This week, our guests are our much better halves, Mary Matalin with James Carville and Judy Woodruff with me. Remember, we love taking your questions, so write into politicswarroom@gmail.com or send a tweet to @Politicon for next week's shows. And we'll get to as many as we can, and don't forget to tell us where you're from. Now, please check out the links to our sponsors, Real Paper, Miracle Brand, and HoldOn Bags in the show notes. We thank you for supporting the sponsors. It really helps make this podcast happen. So please tell your friends about us and remind them to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, James, the January 6th committee concluded one of the most successful congressional investigations I have ever seen, and I've been watching them for a long time. Before they started, there was a circumstantial case that Donald Trump incited the January 6th mob assault on the Capitol to steal the election. The committee carefully, methodically gathered conclusive evidence, mostly from Republicans and those inside the Trump administration, so we can remove circumstantial. There was a corrupt conspiracy directed by the Orange Man that culminated with the January 6th violence. And I sometimes hear some pundits saying, it didn't really matter politically. It didn't change public opinion. Really? Read the great Maggie Haberman in the New York Times today. Before the hearings, she noted Trump dominated, particularly his party. His endorsements determined primaries. Election deniers and embracing the big lie was pervasive in the GOP. It was a foregone conclusion. He's going to be the 2024 nominee. After these hearings, Maggie writes, Trump is a significantly diminished, a sunken presence on the political landscape. Some of this, to be sure, reflects his own atrocities, meeting with white nationalists and anti-Semites. But it also, as she writes, was a product of the voluminous and compelling evidence assembled by this committee.
I agree with you. I obviously agree with Maggie. I think the committee and many things that it did is almost flawless. The one thing that I question is the referral. Not that I don't think that he is a massive criminal and is deserving of somebody like Jack Smith. As I understand it, it is without any legal consequence. All right. And the fact that they referred it and assume that they indict him, it's going to be a Fox talking point that it was instigated by partisan congressional Democrats. Not true, but you're just giving them a talking point that you don't need. What I think they should have done is just unbiased, turn the evidence that they have over to the Justice Department. That's the only thing I would question about it is the wisdom of actually making the referral.
I agree with you on that, and it got overplayed. I mean, what this committee did was they showed in a very comprehensive, compelling way that there was a criminal conspiracy. It's up to the Justice Department to bring action on that. It doesn't have any bearing, and I think the news media overplayed it. But I don't think it's going to affect Jack Smith on one iota. I don't think it would have affected.
I don't, but I think. I really think he's going to be indicted. And we just give up a talking point. That's all. It's just a talking point.
No, I think you're right.
We didn't have to give it up. It wasn't necessary.
James, he's going to be indicted in Mar-a-Lago. He may well be indicted on January 6th. He should be. He may well be indicted in Fulton County, maybe even New York. He's going to have a hat trick of criminal indictments. He's going to top Harvey Weinstein. And I think an interesting question, if he's indicted, he may be able to string this out for a couple of years. You can do that. That's what he's done for years. But if, let's say, he is convicted in the spring or summer of 2024, so hypothetical, would Biden pardon him? He would have to demand he admit totally to guilty on all fronts, apologize, pay a massive fine, and commit to stay out of politics. What would the situation call for then, do you think?
I've thought a lot about this. First of all, it might happen. They might request it sooner. So let's just say he's indicted, and I'm Trump's lawyer. All right, and I said, look, I go to Trump and I said, look, you got one hope here, and that's to get a pardon. And I want to call the White House counsel, counsel's office to see. And so they said, well, I can't present it to the president unless you admit guilt. Nixon, for whatever weird reason, was not required to admit guilt. But by accepting the pardon, they said, well, that's an admission of guilt. No, you have to specifically request it. You have to specifically admit guilt. So then they prepare a option sheet for the president, the way to do it. This is what they want, blah, blah, blah. And they also say there's another thing is, if to do this, you have to request that the Fulton County DA stand down and suspend her investigation. If you're Biden, what do you do at that point? All right. And I'm not telling you that he's the president. It's a presidential level decision. It's monumental. I hate Trump. I think he's a criminal. What does it say to the country? What would you do if you were president in that circumstance? And I don't think the answer's that easy.
I don't either. No.
All right. But you have to kind of look at the totality. And if that would give us a shorten the time that we can get beyond this horrible, god-awful, I don't know, since it came down and escalated in 2015, I don't know. I'd be tempted to take it. I got to say that.
No, I think you're right. It's agonizing, but I would too. I think you have to have an admission of guilt, a steep fine, an apology.
And he's got to ask.
Right.
He's got to ask. All right. And he's got to do all of that.
You're right. When Ford pardoned Nixon, it was roundly criticized. It probably cost him the election, and he didn't actually get an admission of guilt. But it was a move that later was celebrated. He was awarded the Profile and Courage Committee at the John F. Kennedy Library, and Ford told me one time that was one of the highest honors of his whole life. Ted Kennedy led that effort some years after the pardon. But Nixon, and I want to say this very slowly for those of you who were around then, Nixon was a much more sympathetic figure than Donald Trump. So that's how bad Trump is.
The other thing is the stick in this. So people say, yeah, he does that. You know what that son of a bitch is going to do? As soon as you give him a pardon, he's going to go back to his old way. The Fulton County DA has to be in on the deal and say, if you break anything in this, if you give any public statement, my suspended investigation is going to be reignited right now.
Yeah.
And you have to waive all defenses from what we call in Louisiana prescription. I think y'all call it the statute of limitations. I mean, you can't trust him with anything.
No.
You'd have to make it so freaking airtight. But at that point, I got to tell you, you'd be tempted.
No, I think that's right. James, turning to a new Republican, I'm not going to say crook because we don't know everything he has, but George Santos, newly elected Republican congressman from Long Island, revealed by the New York Times. He lied about everything. He lied about his educational background. He lied about his employment. He lied about his charitable works. He lied about financial transactions, some very dubious. And yet he was elected 6 weeks ago. Much of this stuff did not come out before November 8th. What should be done about it?
I tell you, well, first of all, he claims he's gay. I'm not too sure it's like about everything else.
Right.
Maybe about that.
We're used to people lying about being gay. He may be lying about
he might be lying otherwise. So what the Democrats need to do is, I think I'm right. You know this much better than I do. The House is the judge of the own qualifications of its members. It can seat or not seat anybody that it wants to. The Democrats should make a motion not to seat him. Of course, the Republicans can't do that because they need the vote. And make them pay. And then say, well, let's have open ethics committee hearing on this. Or let's have hearings on it. And if this was a Democrat, every 15 minutes, Fox would be running with this. And I think we should do the same thing. And I think Hakeem Jeffers should demand that he not be seated. Yeah, that this was an election that was conducted under massively false pretenses. And it's not going to succeed in the sense that they'll seat him, but make them pay. Make them pay. And that's an important thing in politics and sports and life and everything else. Sometimes, the guy's going to catch the pass, but knock the living crap out of it and make him pay for catching it. That's what they got to do here. Make them pay.
Well, you're certainly right. They ought to pay. I would have a lot of reservations about not a motion not to seat him. Going back to the Adam Clayton path, you can take away a seat from somebody convicted of a crime. That's been done. There's no harm. I mean, it's it ought to be done. But I think maybe I'd make a motion that he doesn't vote until the ethics committee rules on this.
That's fine. Just make them remind. Yeah. Stay in the news with this thing. All right, you're not making it because you're going to win it. You're making it because you're trying to gain a political point. But if you wanted to be highbrow about it, that he can't vote.
Yeah. I just wonder, how did he get through to November the 8th? I mean, this is he is a serial liar of a huge magnitude. I mean, I don't know. I guess, did the Democrats have all this stuff? If so, why didn't they use it?
There was I read some story that some of it came up.
Yeah.
They got all these contested races, and it's New York, and it's all we lost the House because of New York and the stupid redistricting we tried to do, and the inability of our candidates to talk about crime because of I'm going to get into the whole fight about defund the police, but all the damage that's done. But the damage is done. We lost 2 seats, and we'll get them back in 2024.
Yeah. Okay, one more, James. You are a diehard LSU football fan. But when Auburn plays Alabama, you can have a cheering interest, and you'll be rooting for one of those teams in the January 1st playoffs. But I got a tougher call for you. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert are fighting. Who are you cheering for?
I'm cheering for the game, man. I mean, it's like I wanted Ohio State and Michigan to play in the playoff, because I don't like particular rooting. I hate it. It's a good analogy. But what's really odd is Marjorie Taylor Greene is now the moderate.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And she's attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene for the Jewish space lasers. And, we all deserve a little holiday cheer. It's been between COVID and Trump and, the nerve-wracking midterms. And might be one of my favorite stories going on right now. And we don't have to worry because they're going to take this thing as low as it can go.
Right. The central argument is and accusations against the other is which one is crazier. And, I think that's a draw. I think that's a tie. We can accept that.
But which one is trashier? Her husband, Lauren Boebert's husband, introduced himself to her by exposing himself at a bowling alley when she was a teenager. And, of course, there's pretty substantial rumors about Marjorie Taylor Greene and some gym rat. So I don't know. Maybe they could get into an argument as I'm bigger white trash than you are. I'd like to be the judge of that contest. All
I can say is Marge and Lauren, keep it going, guys. We're loving it.
Lauren met Jason at the bowling alley.
And, James, sustainability and climate change can be a tricky topic for people of all ages, but it can be particularly challenging to talk about with kids. However, few things are more important. It's happening right in front of us and something the next generation will have to deal with as well. That means it's time to lead by example and also educate kids about the importance of practicing sustainable habits. Luckily, we have the perfect suggestion: Real Paper and their limited edition little lemur box. Real makes a soft and strong 100% bamboo toilet paper, never cutting down trees, unlike most traditional toilet paper brands. Plus, Real just launched the little lemur box, a 24-pack of their bamboo toilet paper that comes with a beautifully illustrated kids book that tells an exciting story of sustainability. I know at least one 5-year-old who's going to get that for Christmas, but don't tell anybody. The box was designed to spark creativity in kids and create a small opportunity to talk about things like deforestation and plastic pollution, but in a light and easy way with your kids. So not only are you making a difference, you're leading the way to change. And with the holidays here, the book could make a great gift for the little one on your list. From kids to adults learning the most effective ways to fight back against deforestation and climate change. It's essential for us. We love Real's products, from their mission to their feel and the role companies play like this play in building the world we want. Now, how great is this, James?
It's not just great; it's staggeringly great. It's great on a number of fronts. First, the idea that, I guess you could say trees are renewable and bamboo is renewable, but one is renewable about 10,000 times faster than the other, and has significantly less environmental impact. And then you top that with the fact that it's actually an educational product, where our generation was horrific in the fact that we did not take climate very seriously until very late. And this is going to get young people that, as soon as they've kind of learned to write or read, very aware of the climate crisis. So I would score this product on a lot of levels. This is just a tremendous idea. And I congratulate and salute these folks, and I'm delighted we have them as a sponsor.
It sure is. Real Paper's little lemur box and all other products are available in easy, hassle-free subscriptions or for one-time purchases on their website. All orders are conveniently delivered to your door with free shipping and 100% recyclable, plastic-free packaging. If you head to realpaper.com/lemur and sign up for a subscription using our code WARROOM at checkout, you'll automatically get 30% off your first order and free shipping. Let Real help you with your stocking stuffers and holiday gift giving. That's Real Paper, REELPAPER.com/lemur, and enter promo code WARROOM to get 30% off your first order plus free shipping. You can also find the link in our show notes. James, I think we began this Christmas week tradition about 3 years ago as our wives, Mary, Matalin, and Judy Woodruff, join us. Talk a little bit about what we plan for the holidays, the festivities, what unique, sometimes strange things we do. So why don't I start with you, Judy, and then I'll turn to Mary.
Should we start with the argument we had this week over the artificial Christmas tree?
Let's not.
Just skip that?
Let's not go there.
All right, we'll skip that.
Well, can I interrupt and say how much I loved that argument, because it puts you at the same level of ridiculous argument that my dearly beloved and I have. And I hope Judy won and got the artificial.
Yeah, she did.
It's too long a story.
But she won. You did win.
It's awful. We are. But first of all, may I start by talking about how great a visit we had to New Orleans?
As you know, you can do whatever
I can do whatever I want. Yeah, that's what he says every day.
Yeah.
No, we a few weeks ago, Al and I were so lucky enough to have been invited to New Orleans, the Big Easy, to not only be with the amazing James and Mary, but to get to know the city after too many years of not visiting. And we were treated to the most remarkable 3-4 days there, meeting incredible New Orleans citizens, Anne and King Milling, who welcomed us with open arms, and what incredible citizens they are. And then the fabulous Bureau for Governmental Research. What an amazing organization that has done so many good things for New Orleans, and eating like literally kings and queens every single meal, including Galatois with James himself, and we brought along our son Ben. Spending time with Mary, just loving the city. So I have to start out with that, because that has put me in a much better mood than I normally would be in going to the hectic, stressful holidays.
That got me through the artificial Christmas tree, Mary. Who won your fight on the Christmas tree, Mary?
Well, this year, forget the Christmas tree. That's exactly where I wanted to start it. For your legions of listeners, it is no easy lift for Judy and Al to get on the road and Judy and Al and their delightful son Ben. I had so much fun. He was the highlight of the trip. We love watching each of other's kids grow up, and we're so proud of Ben. Sadly, in my case, he's a liberal, but he's one of the good ones. And I just love seeing our kids growing up. And Judy, now we cannot thank you enough. New Orleans is going through a bad phase right now, and I have no doubt and every hope and confidence that we'll pull out of it. But it meant so much to the city, and you were so gracious and so good. We've been doing this for 10 years now, and including the two of us who have given that speech. It was the best one ever by all accounts. So thank you for that. And adding the lagniappe was that we got to learn at that speech that our beloved Judy is off on a new adventure. We are so proud of your long career. We're so indebted to you for all the true public service you've done, especially in this area of media idiocracy. You've been a shining star. You're the hero of our entire family. And why don't we tell the legions of listeners your new adventure? If you're privy, we're able to announce it, because it's just what the world needs, and no one can do it better than you.
Well, I cannot thank you, Mary. With that kind of layup, I mean, I hardly have any words to say, but thank you. I am beyond grateful for what you've said. But you're right. I am making a big turn in my career. I'm going to stop anchoring the PBS NewsHour as of the end of December, which is the end of next week. But I'm going to stay at the NewsHour, and I'm going to embark on this, what I think is a really interesting project to try to understand where the country is. Why are we so divided? Do people think that we are as divided as we seem we are? How do people on the ground see it? So I'm going to be traveling around the country, talking to real people, to ordinary Americans, extraordinary ordinary Americans, about what's on their mind, what do they worry about, what are their hopes and dreams for the future, what do they think about the next generation, what do they think it will take to fix our politics? And I'll be doing that for the next 2 years, interspersing it with interviews with experts, people like sociologists, psychologists, educators, because think about how divided we are now about education, about science. So there's just so much to explore, and I'm very, very, very excited about it.
You know, it's another great thing to explore, and I should have asked your permission before I started telling everybody about this, but everybody that I do tell wants to put in a bid to get you to come to their city. And the first thing they all say, and this gives me goosebumps to even think about, the real hope and innovation and progress and love that's going on out there, particularly among young people. I just take LSU or Tulane, either one. I don't mean to be so loyal to Louisiana, but it is oddly a hotbed of innovation and great good cheer. And I hope part of your mission will be to see what these successive generations after the boomers who have left such a big mess in their wake. Yes. We can see what great things are going on out there, Judy, and you can find that, and you make people better.
Tell them what we saw. We saw that in Erie, Pennsylvania last week in Gannon University.
We sure did. Al and I were in Erie, Pennsylvania just days ago, where we met a number of not just people in the community, but young people in the community. There were high school students, this college students at Gannon University, which is really in the heart of Erie. And they talked about the kinds of things that they're engaged in. We met one young woman in particular. I won't try to single everybody out, but I'll just say you're right, absolutely right, Mary. This young generation has to give us hope for the future. Maybe people say that at every decade or so, but I think there really is something special about this generation, because you're absolutely right. I think the boomers have messed it up a lot. I can say that as a boomer. And I look to the next generation. I don't want to say this in a way that, that puts an obligation on their shoulders. I've had some young people say to me, look, you really expect us to pick up the mess that you've created? And my answer is, no, we bear that responsibility, but we look to you for your ideas, your energy, your optimism. We need that. And we especially need it right now when the country's as divided as it is.
Okay, let me turn to Christmas. Mary, what are you guys planning? Anything different? Anything special? Anything out of the ordinary this year?
Well, I would put this at the top of the list of out of the ordinary and in the category of God is good. Our baby, I'm going to cry. Our baby is having a baby and she's big as a house. And so we are all going to meet up with her and her big fat belly in Baton Rouge, where how she is standing up and cooking all day, which means mom's going to be standing up and cooking all day. But this may or may not become our Christmas tradition, but having a grandchild, as you guys know, is the essence of what Christmas is about. And we could not be more grateful and thankful and hopeful. And that's why we've got to fix all of this because, and I'll just say about boomers, our curse is our strength is our curse. All we ever want to do is make a better place for the next generation. And I think we probably overindulged our kids, but our parents overindulged us and they overcame way more than this generation's going to have to overcome. So I'm feeling the spirit of joy and hope, and that I hope I know our tradition will be wherever our baby boy is, his name is going to be Campbell. Wherever he is what's going to be our Christmas tradition going forward.
What a blessing. What a blessing.
And we appreciate that in particular. I don't know if he's left yet, but Kai, age 5, was here this morning. And it is the greatest blessing. I think I told you this before. Our friend Michael Gartner said, having a grandchild is like renting a top-of-the-line Mercedes. It's the best ride in the world, and then you get to return it. But it is such a delight. And James, there are going to be some, there may be a stressful or a tiring moment or two, but it's the best thing imaginable. So happy for you all.
I can't wait. And Mary, can't wait. Campbell's dad drove down from Baton Rouge with my daughter's in graduate school and MFA program at LSU. And we went to the basketball game last night and we had a great time. It was the worst night. We lost the game. It was raining. It was cold, but it was a great night. And Mary's exactly right. We're so looking forward to this Christmas above and beyond all of them. And Judy, I got to tell you, to buttress what Mary said, people are still talking about your speech to the BGR and what it meant to the city for you and Al to come here. So it's greatly appreciated. A great holiday gift y'all gave to the city of New Orleans. Thank you.
I appreciate that's very generous of you. But I'm thinking right now also about your grandson and how spoiled he's going to be having James and Mary for his grandparents. What do we think, Al?
Well, I think it's very safe to predict that he will, at age 1 day or maybe 2 days, have an LSU Tigers shirt, and maybe waiting in the wings will be a Pelicans or a Saints shirt. I think Mary will be more refined as always, but I think as far as James is concerned, he's going to be a Tiger from day one.
Yes, and I point out my youngest daughter is interior design, and my wife is if she wanted to be, she could be the best interior designer anywhere. And that baby's nursery, I don't even want to go.
Oh my God, the nursery! I thank you, James, for those kind words and for all the support you've given me for spending bazillions of dollars decorating all your homes over the years. But I've already sewn her window treatments and a skirt for her fish tank. She's also an aquarist, so it's going to be quite the beautiful space, all hand sewn. So we're very excited. But I'm not over under on this, Judy and Al. How many diapers do you think James will change? And I'll just give you his record with his 2 children is exactly 0. 2 for 0. He's never changed a diaper, but
Mary, I think he's grown. I really think he's shown great growth, and I see. I think I'm not sure we'll get to double figures, but I think we'll be at least low single digits.
You wouldn't let me. You said I couldn't do it very well. You can change a diaper in 5 seconds.
Yeah, well, I have evidence to that fact because there is a front and back to diapers, believe it or not, and you never quite got that down. But
well, but they turned out pretty well. So more than pretty well. Your 2 children. I just think you guys. All I can think is just how much love and attention and
Joy.
Spoiling and joy this baby is going to have, and I just what better holiday, whatever spirit there is out there, what better could it be? How much better could it be?
You're also blessed that he's going to be near you. We have the same thing. Kai is only about a 10 or 12-minute drive away, and that is really nice. That really is nice. We have friends who have grandchildren across the country, and they love them just as much, but they don't see them very much. So you guys are really blessed.
Very nice for them, too, because they've already accounted for the grandmother to be the built-in maid. I can see that coming. Can I make another point at this season? Seeing you guys, James was not able to be up here, but see, we went to a Christmas party the other night, Judy and Al, at Maureen Orth, who's the widow of Tim Russert. It was at Luke Russert's house.
Right.
And it just reminded me as I looked around how long we've been friends and what that friendship has made and what great people have been in public service. Starting with Tim Russert, Luke had on his mantle or his bookcases or whatever, a gallery of photos throughout the years, and you guys were in them and we were in them, and every president since Abraham Lincoln with Tim. And it just, it put me in such great love mode because we really are blessed with your friendship and the friends that we've managed to keep. People think of this town and this business as so transactional, and it is. There's no denying that. But I'm so grateful year round and appreciate this opportunity to thank you at this time for your decades of loving friendship.
Mary, I'm so glad you brought up Tim Russert because, we miss him, of course, all the time. But what a, the best example of journalism, and as you just said, public service, because he cared. That's what drove Tim. Yes, it was being a reporter, but it was all about his love of this country. And, I don't want to get too mushy about it, but you're absolutely right. There are a lot of people in public life who don't live up to what we think they should, but there's so many who do, and many who are heralded like Tim, and then so many others that we don't know their names. But I'm just so glad you said that.
I'll just tell one quick Tim story. When Tim was the NBC bureau chief in Washington, Mike Gartner, the president of NBC News, wanted to put him on Meet the Press. It's hard for people to believe this, but Tim resisted. He really resisted. And he told Michael Gartner, he said, "I've got a face for radio." And Gartner said, "Yeah, that's true, but I think you'll be good on television." He asked me to call Tim to encourage him. So he was reluctant, and within hours, if that, he became the most dominant figure on Sundays and most of the rest of the week. And we do miss him every day. But boy, what a mark he left, Mayor.
Well, here's another Tim story, for a Christmas story, actually. As you might recall, Tim, much to the chagrin of the chattering classes, would have our children on for Mother's Day and Christmas every year. And a certain cohort of his audience loved seeing the kids grow up. And one year, Tim brought one teddy bear, and he put it in the middle of the table, and both the girls grabbed it, and I forget which one got it. But Tim said he never got so much email and letters and everything from grandmothers saying, "You never bring one present to a 2-kid party." And then subsequent to that, the next year, he got Maddie and Emerson backstage tickets to, at the time, their heroine, Hillary Duff, or I forget who it was, Lindsay Lohan, I forget who it was. But Tim was so mortified, loved those girls, and shared it wasn't that he was sharing family with the nation. There's so many great things to say about our dear friends.
I just, we could go on for a long time, but he was Benjamin's, your friend Benjamin's godfather. But when our older son was injured, Tim got him a hat and encouraged other people to give him hats because he had some surgery a baseball cap, right? Yeah. And I think Jeffrey now has, I'd guess, 125 baseball caps, all originating with Tim Russer. So
just remember, the first time Jeffrey got drunk was at our wedding.
Oh, was it ever? and he was 12 years old, and I went upstairs where the kids were, and I saw he was over. I said, Jeffrey, what have you been drinking? And he said, Sprite. I said, sure. Boy, that wedding, and all the kids remember that. I mean, our daughter got made up with you in the makeup room before the wedding, and we marched. It was just great. And I will tell you, Mary, we behaved ourselves. We sat in front of Rush Limbaugh.
Well, that's another person I miss. And James and I were blessed to attend about 5 of his marriages.
Jim only had one. Well, anyway, Mary, you make such a good point about how important friends are for Christmas. We spend every Christmas, as I think we told you last year, with Andrea Mitchell and Alan Greenspan. Alan's 96 and he's going strong. And one of the great fun things we've had for 37 years is making fun of Alan, particularly when he was the revered chairman of the Federal Reserve Board.
Exactly. We try to put something in the stocking that'll make him smile. Al's pretty good at thinking of something.
No surprise there.
Well,
James, are you going to be wearing your Christmas hat because it's such a good look for you? Your Santa hat, because you don't have the belly, but you can wear that. You can wear that hat, brother.
All right. Well, I got some Christmas socks that kids love. I'm so looking forward to it. It'll be cold.
Well, all right.
So when is the baby due?
I hope January 24th, which is my deceased brother's birthday, and who my daughter just loved. So if there's any kind of way we're kind of pulling for January 24th.
Oh,
well, I was going to say this is the last Christmas that he won't be with you, but no, he will be with you. He'll just be hiding a little bit. But boy, I'm sure you're going to bless him a lot that day. And what a wonderful time you're going to have. Mary and Judy, thank you so much for elevating us.
That's half hour to show up ahead, I can tell you that.
I love your show. And congratulations to you guys.
Yeah.
The past year, I keep running into people. And I meet people from all over the world. We had a family reunion in Ireland this past fall, and people were coming up to James and up to me and saying how much they enjoy the podcast. So you guys are now global superstars. Congratulations. And I love all your sponsors. Keep sending all that free stuff, sponsors. I love all
Absolutely. We love all that. And I have the same thing, Mary. I run it. I don't even have to bring up the fact that Al does the podcast with Jane. People will say, oh, I love this podcast they're doing. So congratulations to you guys.
People will sometimes ask me, do you guys have as much fun as it looks like you're having? I said, you bet. Do we ever? Anyway.
Well, they said here what gets left on the floor, as they say.
All right. Thank you guys, love. And, we will obviously.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Love you guys.
Lots of love.
Love you, Mary.
And Emerson, be careful driving down here. Okay, honey.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Winter is here. And for us, that means struggling to find the right temperature when we sleep. But we've recently found a way to stay at the perfect temperature all night long using silver-infused bed sheets by Miracle Brand that were inspired by NASA. Using silver-infused fabrics, Miracle Brand makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can always sleep in comfort. Now, since we started using Miracle Brand's self-cooling bed sheets, we stay comfortable every night, all night, thanks to Miracle Brand's thermo-regulating sheets' unique self-cooling properties. Now, even better, they're self-cleaning, thanks to their infusion of natural silver that prevents 99.9% of bacterial growth. They stay cleaner and fresher 3 times longer than other sheets. So forget those gross odors. Their design makes them much better for your skin. with less bacteria to clog your pores. That means fewer breakouts and other skin problems. Miracle sheets are also luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Their sheets use a premium 500 thread count sateen weave that's made with a USA-grown Supima cotton, one of the highest quality cottons in the world. That makes Miracle Sheets the perfect gift for your spouse, your friends, or family. Who doesn't want a better sleep and a luxurious feeling bed sheets? And since these come with 3 free towels, you get 2 gifts in one, just in time for the holidays. So sleep cleaner and more comfortably in luxury with Miracle brand sheets. Now, James, you agree they are perfect for great sleeping.
I don't agree. I'll make a point. One of the fastest growing branches of medicine, and I'm not kidding you, is sleep medicine. Yeah. And the amount of research they do into sleep now is, I don't know, a factor of 20 more than they did 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it, and I read every word because the way I feel is determined by how I sleep, temperature is maybe the number one element to getting a good night's sleep and comfort. And man, you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. Why not sleep on the best? And this is the best. Absolutely. You spend more time sleeping than you do driving your car, yet you'll pay extra to get a more comfortable car. Well, how much sleep you get is more important than the kind of car you drive, I promise you.
Right. So go to trymiracle.com/war room to try it today or gift it to someone special this holiday season. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Save over 40% and be sure to use our promo code WARROOM at checkout to save even more and get 3 free towels. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle brand. Go to trymiracle.com/war room and use the code WARROOM to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/war room to treat yourself, a friend, or loved one this holiday season. You also can find the link in our show notes. Thank you, Miracle Brand, for sponsoring this episode. All right, now for our outrage of the week. Leonard Leo, who from his perch at the outside Federalist Society basically picked Supreme Court justices and other judges for Donald Trump. Politico's Heidi Prisbella reports that Leo also apparently arranged, facilitated the sale of Kelly Conway's company while she was in the Trump White House advising the president on judicial selections. It was, of course, done in secret, what we call sometimes dark money. It used to be said years ago that Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan was the second most powerful person in Washington. Today, that belongs, I think, probably to Leonard Leo, just infused with a $1.6 billion donation from a right-wing businessman. But Leo does it all in secret. He trades in dark money. And I think I would encourage all of my great colleagues in the press, assign a reporter or reporters just to cover Leonard Leo and all the tricks he's up to in this next year or so. I think you're going to produce some great pieces.
Well, my outrage, I'm not going to top that because I can't. And I think one of our best shows we did was our Dark Money show with Sheldon Whitehouse, our dear friend Jane Mayer, and Terry Goddard, the former Attorney General of Arizona. I just want to make the point is, man, we talked about that proposition in Arizona about dark money disclosure. This is a winning issue. This is a winning political issue. Yeah. We need to bring this to the forefront. We need to talk about it. We need to put it front and center. The public is way ahead of where the press or the politicians are. The public will lead on this issue. And for God's sakes, we need to do, on this show, we need to do more of it. And we need to bring this up. This thing passed 73% in Arizona. 73% is a good number. It's across the board. You're getting independents. You're getting Republicans. You're getting everybody. And this is brilliant that you brought this up. The show is brilliant. We can't let this go. This is a policy and political winner of the first magnitude.
And James, there are 24 states that allow citizens referendums. And, you got to get a bunch of signatures, but you can do it. They did it in Arizona. And states like Florida ought to be doing this right now. I mean, you can get a citizen referendum on that ballot. And if good citizens in that state of Florida where politics don't look very favorable to them, this will carry, it'll have an effect, and it might even bring out voters.
Yeah, to carry the minimum wage, $15, carried 2/3 in Florida, right, as did allowing felons that did their time to vote.
Right.
And this is great organized, and the names, these campaigns like make money selling the names. This is a big thing. There was a article in Axios and Atlanta Journal-Constitution about how Stacey Abrams' campaign had run out of money, and they were selling their list. I'm not telling that there's anything the list belongs to you. You can sell it, you can barter it, you can do what you want with it. But boy, you talk about a list worthy of a lot, a list of the people who signed these petitions.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, this is a big. I don't call it's legal. I'll call it a hustle, but this is a big side issue that's going on. This money in politics is just, it's everywhere, and the public knows it, and the public is ahead of everybody else on this.
They are, and I hate the amount of money in politics, but what I hate even more is when it's secret or dark money. People have a right to know who is contributing. And, that ought to be, you're right. Let's make this a major theme for us in 2023.
And we had our dear friend Quentin Folks on. Remember, he spent $181 million. Now, that's all disclosed.
Right.
And that's limited money. That's a sign of a vibrant democracy when people are coming up over the $2,900 limit or whatever it is now.
Right.
Being fully disclosed. And you can run a good campaign on $181 million. Why do you need goddamn dark money?
Right. You don't. All right.
Yeah.
That is a major theme. I want everybody to say 2023, among other things. And also, by the way, in 2023, James, I think we're going to have to return to our Ivy League Sphincter Hall of Fame. I think we got a couple nominees in waiting. But so that and dark money will be big deals for us.
We need some more admissions here. This club's too small.
Okay. Plastic. It's everywhere we look, and not enough being done about it. It's insane to know that 100 billion plastic bags are used and then thrown away every year. You know that plastic bag you see in the gutter or floating in a stream or washed up on the beach? Multiply that by 100 billion. Yikes, right? But there's a better way, and it can start with a better bag. HoldOn is a company born from the idea that there must be a better way to go about our daily chores. Trash bags and kitchen bags are necessary staples, but do they need to be 100% plastic? 100%? No. Every single time you use one, you can be making a difference instead of creating waste, thanks to their incredible products. HoldOn trash and kitchen bags are heavy-duty, plant-based, non-toxic, and 100% home compostable, which means they break down in weeks, not decades, without filling up on our landfills or polluting our oceans. You can be part of the change with HoldOn while they help the growing movement away from single-use plastic. And if you ask most experts, it's the single worst kind of plastic. At every stage, production, disposal, and decomposition, plastic bags are doing harm to our earth, our water, and even our bodies. Let's do better. And James, we know the way to do it is HoldOn Bags for reducing the impact on the environment.
I love our sponsors. I got to tell you, and this is like such an innovative thing. And I'm going to go a little bit off script here, but make a point. Bags are in containers are just such a huge issue with the earth, the environment, biodiversity, you name it. I was listening to a thing on NPR, and you know how you go to the store and you can, for $2 $2, you can buy these bags of cloth bags.
Right.
And they did a survey, and in order buying one of those cloth bags as opposed to the little crappy bags they give you, you'd have to buy 7,000 plastic bags for one of those. So you're really not doing the environment a favor. This is totally biodegradable. It's nothing. All right, you use the product and it goes right back into the system. And when you read these statistics about how much plastic in the ocean, how many fish die, I mean, it's a real consequence. And this is the kind of stuff that when we talk about our kids and our grandchildren, if they're going to beat this thing, it's companies like this that are going to be part of beating it, and you can beat it with no sacrifice.
Right.
No, none. You don't have to have the air conditioner on 75 in the summertime. It's just a terrific product, and it works, better than anything else, and it's worry free. This is great. This is just great.
And James, there not only is no sacrifice, these bags are better. They really are better. So it's a I don't know, a twofer, a threefer. So to shop plant-based bags and replace single-use plastics all over your home, visit holdonbags.com/war room or enter War Room at checkout to save 20% off your order. Sustainability has never been more simple. That's HoldOn, HOLDON, bags.com/war room or enter War Room to receive 20% off your order. Small things can lead to lasting change if we stop and say, hold on. Thank you, Hold On, for sponsoring this episode. Also, look for the link in our show notes. All right, now questions from our listeners, and wow, do we have great listeners. We'll start. This is a tough one for you, James. Drew in Cleveland, Ohio. If you were hired by Vice President Kamala Harris as her top political strategist, what advice would you give her to rehabilitate her poll numbers and try to position herself for 2024 or 2028?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would have her get kind of front and center on issues of public safety. All right, she has not. It's a huge concern. It's at 81, according to Pew poll, 81% of blacks said that violence in their area is a huge issue. I think she was the DA in San Francisco County. I know she was the Attorney General in California.
She was both, yeah.
And she is a very talented person. She actually has, you can see her kind of being someone like this. And it's something different. It's not what you would exactly expect right out of the chute for her. She needs to do something pretty different because she's not very much front and center. Her poll numbers are, let's be gracious and call them tepid. And whatever she's doing is not working. Let's try something different. Let's be the public safety person. I think what Mayor Karen Bass is doing in Los Angeles about cutting through this red tape and housing. I think that and the thing about her is Karen Bass grows. I mean, she moves ahead and she's showing real potential for growth. She and Harris are kind of both, women of color from California. And, she needs to look at what Mayor Bass is doing. And I'm telling you, this homeless is a problem. Obviously, Mayor Bass knows that. It's all related to public safety. And when I say public safety, am I just talking about urban violence? No, I'm talking about a whole parameter of issues where we know for a fact that people do not like disorder. All right, they like immigrants. They don't want to jail homeless people. All right, that they understand that there are people that are in jail that don't need to be there for selling 4 ounces of marijuana. But man, when you cross the line to disorder, that costs you. And Democrats have to understand that. we can be a humane party. We can love immigrants and we can love immigration. We don't have to like disorder. And
I concur. And Karen Bass is a real talent. I was in the Profile and Courage Committee at the Kennedy Library when we gave her that because of her skillful leadership of the California Assembly, where she was speaker. She also had the good sense to have Hampton Dellinger as a top advisor, and she's off to, I think, a great start and a very challenging job in L.A. So I couldn't agree with you more. Britain and of course, growth. Yeah, she does. Growth.
She grows. You don't. It's a lot of people. You just don't see that.
Right. No, I think it's true.
Yes.
I think she would have been a perfect successor to Pelosi, but being mayor of LA is a big deal. Our next question comes from Brenton in Accord, New York, and I think kind of suggesting that we may have gone overboard last week because she asked a good question. Is it possible that Marjorie Taylor Greene has succeeded in burying the lead? Talk about sex toys makes the headline, but her call for overturning democracy is the lead. You're right, Brenton. It is. I mean, the sex toys, the dildos, it just shows how crazy she is and why she goes looking for them. Who knows? But the greatest threat she poses is that she really wants to overturn democracy. She doesn't believe in democracy. So that's...
Yeah, I mean, of course, on an intellectual level, you're right. But if you're asking us to bypass the fact that she's talking about
it's just too good.
That's too much. I mean, you're exactly right in your observation, and your critique is spot on. But I think if we had to do it all over again, we'd still do the same thing.
Yeah. Brenton, okay, we're trying to recover. I'm going to combine these next two questions for you, James, because I think they're interesting. Joseph in Westchester County says, with Virginia having elected a Republican governor and a Republican-controlled House of Delegates, is it inching closer to a purple state after it appeared to be blue for the last 15 or so years? Because it's almost a must-have for Democrats in the national map. And conversely, Jeff in St. Pete says, has Florida become a money pit for Democrats? And if so, where's the best state to invest for maximum yield?
All right, let's go to Virginia. Virginia was a bluish-purple state. All right, I think we're barring anything, we'll continue to do well in presidential elections. We're right there in the Virginia legislature. What happened was in like Rockingham County, which is adjacent to where I have a place in Shenandoah County, they had a higher turnout in 2021 than they had in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, and they didn't replicate that in 2022. Florida, it's one of these things where I would certainly commission a lot of research, and I would find out why it is that we consistently underperform. It may be that you just can't win it, at which point I would say we have to walk away from it. But I'm not there yet because I keep coming back to the ballot initiatives that get 2/3. And before I walked away, and I would be willing to walk away, I would want to do some exhaustive research. I think that where we need to look, we have got to get black turnout better. And I'm looking, and I just saw a very good poll in Mississippi. I keep coming back. There's not a lot of electoral votes. I don't want to go over the board. Where Trump's favorability is 51-47. That's Mississippi. And that state usually votes 31, maybe 32 black share. It could be 38 and a half. If you get it to there, you're going to win a lot of elections. And you can look and see where the states are, where, North Carolina being another one. They think the black share in November was 17, where it should be 21. But that's a lot. And I go back to our conversation we had about Vice President Harris. I think that us abdicating the public safety issue shows that we're not talking about things that matter to them. We're getting caught up in something that's damaging to the party brand here. So it's a good question. If I were the grand decision maker, I would be willing to walk away from Florida, but not until I was convinced that there's nothing we can do it's just in an irredeemable state. And I don't know that that's.
Well, I agree with you, James. But the problem is, unless you can prove that it's not irredeemable, it's expensive to do things in Florida. So, you know,
you know what? But it's a big. It's got 29.
Well, you're right, but you're losing by the margins you're losing by. You know, in the consecutive elections,
House seats and state legislative seats, and you know, I wasn't bad as she wouldn't have won, but I was, you know, Charlie Crist. I'm sure he's a fine guy, man. If you want to nominate somebody that's not going to excite people, try that.
Right. No, I agree. And you know, obviously you have to, I feel the same way about Ohio. I hate to say it, but I think I just worry whether it's winnable. You couldn't have had a much better candidate than Tim Ryan. But that'll be tested in 24 by Sherrod Brown. I mean, Sherrod Brown's the one person who can still carry Ohio, I think.
Right. And we didn't, you know, we did horrible. We lost the governor's race by like 20. And what Tim lost by 7, something like that. It was too much to overcome, but I'm not. I'm too much of a, maybe I'm just guided by history, but I'm too much of a fighter to give up.
Well, you kind of obviously invest, to go to your question, Jeff, you got to obviously invest in Georgia and Arizona, Wisconsin, Nevada. Those were won by razor thin margins. I also believe, and I've got a little bit of a bias here, North Carolina. I think North Carolina is the one state that Trump carried that Democrats should not throw in the towel and should come back, invest more money, as James said, try to get a more energized black vote down there. You know, you can. They've won the governorship for, I think, 24 of the last 28 years. Been harder on the federal level, but not impossible. They've had a couple senators the last 20 years, John Edwards, Kay Hagan. So I think North Carolina, to me, right now is a better investment than Florida.
But the one that I'm really down on is Iowa.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's a 90-year-old guy, and we had a, you know, decorated admiral or whatever, and probably couldn't have much better candidate, and we didn't scratch.
Yeah. Next, Kyle in Portland, Oregon says, I'm tired of people saying Joe Biden is too old to run for a second term. He's got more done than Trump, Obama, and Bush combined. How do we change the conversation about Biden running in 2024? Kyle, by the way, points out he's 36. Kyle, I so much want to agree with you, and I can't, because presidents can adjust. Clinton adjusted after a difficult midterm. Obama adjusted after a difficult midterm. You can change your emphasis. You can change your priorities. You can move more to the middle if you want to. The one thing you can't do is get younger. And you're right. Biden had an extraordinary first 2 years, but he still is got very negative numbers. People say they don't want him to run again. They don't hate Joe Biden. They're not against him because he's too liberal, because he's, you know, any bad things. They just think that he's too old. And I think that's going to be very difficult to change. And I think the case they made internally was he's the one that can beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't going to be the nominee in 2024. So I just think you have to rethink that. And I hope that the president might rethink it, James.
You know, yeah, we're sports fans, and a lot of sports analogies, but let's go ahead and use one. You know, one thing that it was kind of great to watch Tom Brady and Joe Burrow play, because one is the greatest of all time, and one might one day be somewhere near that class. But what they never do is throw the ball where the receiver is. They throw the ball where the receiver is going to be.
Right.
All right. And you can say, you look at Biden now, he's 80, and you say, you know, he still can be an effective leader. That's true. He's been a very effective leader. You got to say, what about 2027 and 2028? Because you're not voting on where he is, you're voting on where he's going to be. And I think that's a question people have to ask themselves. And I think the president and his family, does he deserve to be nominated as a Democrat? Of course he does. Does his record illustrative of somebody who should be reelected, not by a little bit, by a lot? Of course it is. But, you know, where are you going to be 6 years from now?
Yeah,
that's one mental question that you got to ask.
Sure is. James, our next question comes from Brady in Ezel, Kentucky, E-Z-E-L. You know Kentucky well. Do you know Ezel?
I don't. It sounds like it's Eastern Kentucky, but I can't swear to it. But I know most places in Kentucky. I'll tell you the first thing I'm going to do when the show is over is I'm going to Google it.
Well, Brady, we'll answer that, Brady, where you're from, because you asked a real good question. He wants to work in the state legislature or Congress someday. I think Brady's a young person, but he faces a lot of discouragement from people who say there's little to gain from a career in such a hostile environment. Do you have advice for younger people wanting to spend their lives in politics or public service, or perhaps even run for office themselves one day?
Well, my advice has changed in a week. And so what I do is I would listen to last week's show with Quentin Folks. Okay. Now, there's not many Quentin Folks out there, 33 years old, who ran a $181 million Senate campaign that the whole world was looking at. But my advice to anybody, any young person that goes in is simply this: find a job that you really want. All right. That's within your skill set. So let's say you want to work. I've had, when I ran campaigns, I had a guy come in and me, and he said, look, I really want to work in this campaign. It was the Target campaign, 1984, ended up getting, 42%. And he said, I live in New York. I'll come to Austin. I will do anything you want me to do. I'll go get your laundry. I'll clean your house, and I'll run errands. I'll do whatever. And at the end of 60 days, tell me there's no place for you here, or hire me. And I said, okay. Then after 6 days, I said, okay, you're on the payroll. There's not, you got to do something, because you love politics and you went to a good school, you're educated, you know all 120 counties in Kentucky, et cetera, et cetera. That's not going to distinguish you. And there are other people whose uncle gives a lot of money to the campaign. Do something to make yourself stand out and get involved in a good campaign with a good candidate, good campaign manager, and just sit there and be a sponge and absorb everything. And that's what Quentin did. His aunt knew somebody he knew, but Steny Hoyer, right, an internship.
Right.
All right. You be willing to get your hands dirty. Because, now everybody wants to come in at the, executive level or something. And that's insane. You just, put yourself in a place where you can observe everything. Be an advanced person.
Brady, you have just gotten the best advice from the best. So follow it. Murphy in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm going to quote Murphy's question, James. He said, I am frankly scared shitless about this independent state legislature business. If the 5 black-robed lunatics on the Supreme Court affirm this theory, what does that mean for us in states with Republican supermajorities? What kind of authoritarian mischief might the Tennessee legislature get up to? First of all, Murphy, you were right. You are as scared as you should be. The independent state legislature theory was a loony theory for years and years that suddenly the right wing has embraced. That says basically, you know what? State Supreme Courts, state courts have nothing to do with gerrymandering and any election laws, because it's in the Constitution that the state legislature does this. Who created the state legislature? The state Constitution created it, and they created a Supreme Court that was supposed to be a balance of power, a division of power. This is a right-wing power grab. I'm talking to people much smarter and knowledgeable than I am. I'm inclined to think this Supreme Court won't go quite that far. I worry that what they'll do is some kind of a compromise, not adopt quite the independent state legislature business, but still let North Carolina get away with this outrageous gerrymandering, and figure they can visit another day. And your larger point is right. This Republican Supreme Court, that's what it is. It's now a Republican Supreme Court, because they are movement conservatives, they are movement Republicans, they are partisans. And I think there's an arrogance there that I think is just frightening.
So if you think about traditionally, when I was in law school, and it was a long time ago, but for as recent as, 10 years ago, the thing that they said is, first of all, judicial restraint. Right. You should only decide the issue before you. We're not here to make a larger statement. And, the liberals have done that. They've expanded Map versus Ohio, Escobedo or I don't know your name. I don't know. Baker versus Cars, all these old cases. And so in it, there was some kind of, okay, that kind of makes sense. You don't need to go any further than you need to go. Of course, that's completely out the way. The other one is the idea of federalism, that really the states get together and they form the federal government. The federal government didn't form the states, which is okay. And so we should give deference to the power of the states. Right. I clearly disagree that the states' 14th Amendment applied to them vis-a-vis racial segregation, gender, whatever. That made some sense, if you will. And also that there were 3 co-equal branches of government, and we should defer to each one. In each instance, they have abandoned with judicial modesty in a way that has never been happened before in the Supreme Court. They have completely abandoned any idea of states' rights, of deference to the state constitution. And they have completely decided that the judiciary is the superior branch of government. And this is to a guy that's hardly a constitutional lawyer. I hadn't had a law license since, 1979, maybe he passed then. But you don't have to be a genius to see that this court, it $1.5 billion behind them, is just all about its own power. And they don't give a shit. And it all started with Bush v. Gore. And they don't care. Alito, he doesn't get Gorsuch. They don't give a shit. You got to understand that. They're going to take every piece of power they can possibly get. You're so right. You should be scared shitty, not scared shitless. And they ain't going to stop. I promise you. But that's a very good question from my friend in Knox County, Tennessee. By the way, that's a beautiful place. And that University of Tennessee, where they have those games and the boats coming down the river, that's a great place. That's a gorgeous part of the world.
Knoxville really is. All right. Thank you for those questions. They get better. And the biggest guilt trip I go on every week is the ones we can't get to, but we'll get to them next week. So keep them coming. Thanks for listening to Politics War Room with James Carville, and I'm Al Hunt. Don't forget to send your questions for us by email to politicswarroom@gmail.com or tweet them for next week's show @Politicon. Following this episode, we'd really appreciate it if you check out the links to our sponsors, Real Paper, Miracle Brand, and HoldOn Bags in the show notes. We deeply thank you for supporting them, and when you do, it makes this podcast happen. To keep up with us, subscribe to Politics War Room on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen. Please rate the show with a 5-star review. We'll be back next week with another show as we continue our War Room planning. And to all out there, a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a happy anything else that you might celebrate. This is a wonderful season, and we appreciate you listening.